Look, y'all already know me. I can't go anywhere without picking up a new piece of art, a little trinket, a poster, something for the crib. That's why the other art fair, that's a dangerous place for me. It's 4 days of independent artists, thousands of original artwork starting at around $100. Even if you're not trying to buy something, you can meet the artists, attend workshops and interactive installations, or, hang around for the mini golf, the DJ sets, and the fully stocked bar. Add the other art fair to your calendar. It's October 30th through November 2nd at Artifact Events in Ravenswood, and tickets start at just $20. Book your tickets online at theotherartfair.com. Fasten your seatbelts for an all areas access conversation spanning a decade inside Formula One with none other than former Haas F1 team principal Gunther Steiner. Unfiltered Live is an event no Formula One fan, hell, no racing fan should miss. The star of Netflix's smash hit docuseries Drive to Survive will take you on a wild ride through his career in motorsports and his decade of working on the Haas team. And it's for one night only. November 15th, Unfiltered Live at the Cadillac Palace Theater. Tickets at BroadwayInChicago.com. Today on CityCast Chicago. For Chicago rapper Femdot, hip-hop is much more than just his art form and career. It's an invaluable way to read and understand Chicago's Black history. And this quarter at DePaul University, his alma mater, he's taking that belief back to the classroom. It's Thursday, October 23rd. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Joining me on the podcast today is rapper, philanthropist, and now professor at DePaul University, Femdot. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you, Kobe. Appreciate you having me, my guy.
Hey, man, I'm really proud of you, G. I have been a fan of the music, as you already know, for years and years. In the last couple of years, we have gotten, to have a budding friendship. And now we got you on the podcast talking about a class that in some ways you've kind of been manifesting for years. Like, what is it like to now add professor officially to your biography?
At first, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. This is dope. But I think seeing how excited everyone else is about it has also made me realize, like, okay, this is actually kind of crazy.
You're teaching Chicago culture through hip hop. And as we've explored on this podcast, Chicago has been seen as either a birthplace or a true creative hub for some of Black music's most acclaimed genres. We talking modern gospel, we talking blues and jazz, house and dirty house. But do you think Chicago's hip hop scene has always been viewed with the same reverence, or is it viewed with the same reverence alongside some of those other genres?
I don't think it is, and I think that it should be. When you think of the gospel, the jazz, the et cetera, I mean, you can literally narrow most of that down to a damn near to a neighborhood, just to Bronzeville alone. But I think when we talk about hip hop, if we're talking 2010s on, is when people really start to be like, okay, we are a epicenter of hip hop. But I think our footprint has been in hip hop for a very long time, especially since the 90s, since the golden era, quote unquote. And but I don't think people really started paying a lot of attention to it until obviously the emergence of Kanye, but really like thinking of Chicago specifically as a epicenter of like culture rap wise, not until the 2010s, which I think kind of discredits some of the groundwork that's been laid.
Especially when, some DJs and pioneers will tell you that alongside house, you had hip house, right? Fast Freddie, people who were, as house was growing, hip hop was sort of right there alongside of it, at least for Chicago, in the spaces that people were celebrating house music, celebrating rap music. And I know in some ways when I ask that question, it's a little bit loaded because, like we say, gospel, the Pilgrim Baptist Church, and house had the Warehouse, and blues had Chess record label. What's that iconic place and time period for Chicago when we think about rap music?
I feel like I can only really speak on my generation in regards of like a specific place. And that is like the U Media space in here, Washington Center was like a very transformative space. And then ironically, you will have like neighborhoods more or less, like You'll have the Dro City neighborhood of Woodlawn and Parkway Gardens. Those would be kind of like the spaces where, at least in the 2010s, like these are the epicenters of what's where the music is then sprouting from. But prior to that, in the 90s and things of that sort, there were a lot of other spaces. And then prior to that, I think there were a lot of different folks who were doing things in many different spots around the city.
You talk about Chicago's place during the golden era. I think, the first Chicago rap group to sign to a major label was Ten Trey and G2 the Juggernaut. But for me coming up, the names I remember was like Common, Da Brat, Twista. Like, who are those seminal figures for you? The folks who either help push Chicago on the map or kind of push the genre forward.
Starting in regards of like pushing the genre forward, Da Brat for sure. Just also being the first like solo woman to ever like have a platinum plaque. Open up and let the funk flow in from this nigga named Jay and his newfound friend. I'm hitting switches like Eric on the Solo Creek for yo G. It's the BRAT. For that to come out here, granted, like how they were marketing her wasn't necessarily rooted in Chicago. It was rooted in like Atlanta, and then like her kind of being like looked at as like a female Snoop Dogg in a sense early on. But Da Brat out the gate and Infamous Syndicate for sure. Because I think also with them there, they were the first group that was really not only just buzzing in Chicago, but like got folks to come and sign them. They're like people came to Chicago to get them. They were doing what they needed to do to the point where like they had buzz in the city, and that led to them getting a deal somewhere else versus like going somewhere else first and establishing themselves in that space. So when you get the Infamous, and then you see who Tifa ended up becoming in regards of like impact of just Chicago, pushing Chicago music forward in the radio space, and then Shauna also, being the first woman signed to like Def Jam South. And if you listen to her music, it's very like she's very Chicago coded in everything she talks about since from the jump. So I think Infamous Syndicate for sure, Da Brat for sure, and then you get into the Do or Dies. You get into obviously Twista, Common, and this is all and No ID, and this is all like pre-emergence of Ye, obviously, because once you get into Ye, Kanye is like this larger than life figure,
It was like a before and an after moment.
1,000%.
It seems like you teach the class less in a direct chronological order, but really through looking at critical eras. For you, what are those defining periods of Chicago hip hop music? Like thinking through your syllabus, where did week one start?
So week one started with the emergence of Kanye. Through the emergence of Kanye, funny enough, as now I'm going through the syllabus, is like we use certain pillars that we have as anchors to then like pull in other very important artists. So week one is starting with the emergence of Kanye in relationship to Common. So it's like Late Registration, and B, and then Food and Liquor.
Food and Liquor from Lupe.
All of this is kind of occurring in a 3-year span, but these lead conversations, one, to different neighborhoods and glimpses into Chicago, and like kind of establishing what the sound that we were ending up being known for that time was, but then it also allows and opens up conversations of like, okay, well, what is the through line between Kanye and Common? And then that's when, No ID comes in the picture, or we're talking about Lupe, but Lupe was also on Touch the Sky.
Yes, guess who's on third? Lupe still like Lupe in the third. Here like here till I'm bitter on the curb. Peach fuzz buzz, but bitter on the verge. Let's slow it down like you
can kind of start creating a family tree, but a lot of that is like rooted in like those first 3 albums. So that's where we start. And my kids are from like they were born in 2006. It was like you can only, it's like
you can only start so far back.
You can only start so far back, you know what I mean? But then the cool part is that because we go era and we go neighborhoods, or eras inside of the city, we can then, go out west. We use like Lupe as an intro to the west side, and then from there go into the west side. We can get Twista, Do or Die, Crucial Conflict.
We know that homelessness is a problem in Chicago and across the country, but for unhoused women and femmes, those dangers only multiply. There are proven solutions to ending chronic homelessness: permanent housing paired with supportive services. Deborah's Place is celebrating 40 years as Chicago's largest provider of permanent supportive housing for women. On Saturday, November 1st, Deborah's Place will kick off Homelessness Awareness Month with a 1.5-mile community walk. You can walk from East Garfield Park to West Humboldt Park alongside staff, supporters, and residents of Deborah's Place. Join to raise awareness for compassionate, effective solutions to homelessness. Learn more, register, or donate at deborahsplace.org. Starting to feel that draft come through your windows? Well, it's only October, so, I can imagine it's probably going to get a little bit worse as it gets breezier and colder. So get ahead before your heating bill starts to feel the blow and install top quality, affordable windows from Window Nation. Or reach out to your landlord and put them on it. You see, with a lifetime warranty and one-day installation, you can relax knowing Window Nation has you covered. Make no payments for 2 years. That's no monthly payment, no down payments, and no interest until 2027. That's a pretty solid deal, you ask me, with all this holiday spending that's coming up. Get started on your free estimate before Halloween to save big. Schedule a fast free estimate now with the pros at Window Nation. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. What is the context that music is being produced in? What's happening in Chicago during that emergence of late registration of food and liquor? Like, what does the city look like during that time? What neighborhoods are you hitting on?
So the city, so it's cool because we were talking obviously like about the Calumet Heights neighborhood. We talk about like the South Shore neighborhood. We talk about like Garfield Park when we get into the regards of like food and liquor and stuff like that. But we're also speaking on from this is the beginning of the tearing down of Robert Taylor Homes, Ida B. Wells, like a lot of these projects, and you start seeing a lot of the displacement of Black folks and even like the exodus to the suburbs. But you also start seeing gang culture change. A lot of these leaders are gone, and a lot of these folks who are in predominantly like specific areas are now getting pushed to different areas, and you're seeing a lot of things shift. And I think that is all happening at that time. Obviously, you have like just political climate, Bush is in office, et cetera. We're like stepping into different terms in regards of mayors and stuff like that. The emergence of like internet and things of that sort too. People are starting to like kind of dive into our culture a bit differently. You have folks like Bump J who are like popping on the streets, but also like DVDs and things of that sort of selling everywhere. And just the idea of what the world kind of looked like through the lens of Chicago, or Chicago being a lens of the world, is starting to like emerge as a conversation, particularly around that time. And then obviously having someone like Ye who's able to propel the city into a larger spotlight, and him being outspoken and kind of how he navigated, particularly at that time, was very much like, okay, people in Chicago is like, this kind of represents us. I can see that. He's what he's saying ain't crazy, which is its own conversation. But I think, around that time was just there's a lot of things happening in the city, particularly that affect Black people. I think with Chicago being such a segregated city, it shows up and it allows every artist to be very specific, because you can be 10 blocks away from each other and live in a whole different world or not interact with each other at all. Like I tell my students very often, like Chance, Herb, and Ye all have family houses on 79th Street, but those are three completely different 79th Streets. You get what I'm saying? And they're all maybe 10 to 15 blocks away from each other, but they're three different worlds. And but then it shows up in the music as well, because that's just how it's based on how Chicago is designed. And I think we started really seeing that show up in regards of like Chicago's viewpoint, and how even though Lupe and Ye and Common would be rapping around the same time about similar issues, how they present themselves are very different. I think the beauty of like the Infamous Syndicate was like, one, because They were women that people really like enjoyed. They traveled all through the city rapping with everyone. So they had like a nice blend of kind of, their whole idea was kind of to connect the city. But I think once you started getting into that early 2000s era, I think it just became, it started getting more specific. Like when you listen to a song like The Corner, or you know what I'm saying, listen to theme songs to a drive-by or certain records, like it starts getting more specific on what they're talking about in regards to like location.
And it feels like in your syllabus with week 2, as you jump into the blog era and sort of the post Kanye world, that really starts to get even more specific from neighborhood to neighborhood.
For sure. So once we get into the blog era and like the post Ye, like, you know, emergence, you start seeing all these young kids who know what now, like, because in the early 2000s, everyone wasn't rapping. People were rapping, but people didn't see rap as a career. And even like watching interviews of like older rappers and stuff too, like, and I keep going back to the Infamous Syndicate because just Shauna and them really had the city on lock for real. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They also was like, yeah, like, it wasn't really hard for people to support or recognize what we doing. One, because it was other women that was rapping, but people wasn't really trying to like, that wasn't the, oh, we finna get out the hood with this. Like that wasn't the idea. But by the time my generation came around and the blog era started, it's like, well, I'm trying to be Kanye. What? Yes, I'm a Lupe. What? Common. What? Yeah, like we're kicking it. It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Cool kids. Okay, cool. Like let's make it. And by this time, you know, at the same time, you have the early forms of social media, MySpace, Black Planet, OK Player, etc., where folks are able to do things and people are making music at home. So then because of that, you have folks telling their story, but they're not from the same place. So now you get that hyper awareness of like what you're listening to, because you're like, okay, like what neighborhood is this person from? Neighborhood is this person from? Because these sound different, but they're all from Chicago. And it allows you to be able to start diving into neighborhoods like Chatham, diving into different areas and kind of breaking down like the history of these places and what it looks like. And just also in the same space, seeing the climate of Chicago, because the blog era existed at the same time that the drill era existed. This is all happening, you know, it's coexisting with each other. So these are all the children who are products of what was going on in the earlier 2000s or in the late 90s, and then live growing up in that space. So we're growing up, you getting used to the project being gone, or only having certain buildings, or being able to interact, or you know, the war on drug, whatever. We're growing up, you know, knowing that we could have had we had a black mayor before, and what this like. We're growing up knowing certain things, and that also shows up in the music as well.
What are the defining albums or mixtapes of that era?
The obvious one is Acid Rap. Acid Rap has, you know, changed a generation.
I've been riding around with my blunt on my lips, with the sun in my eyes and my gun on my hip. Paranoia on my mind, got my mind on the fritz.
You have The Waters from that era. You also have Tink's Winter's Diary too.
Like, even though the style is different from neighborhood to neighborhood, what is the defining sound of Chicago at this time?
At this time, coming in the 2010s, this defining sound is a very soulful, heavily sampled, sampling a lot of traditional like soul and funk music and older R&B music, like kind of similar to what people consider neo soul to exist as, but obviously with more just rap elements to it. But that was kind of the sound that was also this idea of like a consciousness, was also kind of just this sound that people were attaching to Chicago, and a lot of that was rooted in the success of Food and Liquor, B, Late Registration, College Dropout, etc.
Like, Chicago's best rappers were known for rapping they ass off.
For sure. You weren't worried about if you were not going to be blown away by some raps if you came to a Chicago rapper, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, most of the people we were talking about to this point, you know, we talk about Shauna and the Brat. These were like bars, well-constructed songs. Twister is a rap legend. Lupe is arguably has some of the best lyrical dexterity of any artist.
Yeah, of all time, yeah.
You know, week 3, you get into the West Side with Saba, Care For Me, some of the people we've already talked about. But I imagine for like the average listener right now, week 4 is probably where they really start paying attention. And this is the emergence of Chicago's drill music.
For sure. I feel like that is like my, okay, let me really put my teacher hat on. Because everyone always wants to know, or you're teaching drill, you want to know about drill, what is drill? The earliest moments of drill was in like 2009. We are in the Dro City neighborhood of Woodlawn, and the pioneers of drill, specifically the first person to use drill in a song and say it's a drill, etc., is Pac-Man from that area.
And the dough shorty on me like a cheap suit. Butterscotch Louis with the same color peacoat.
Drill initially was just any music that was coming out of that area in particular. The idea was just rooted in how hip hop is in general in terms of authenticity, but it also had the slang, the language, the dance styles, etc., that was coming out at that time from Dro City. That's drill is where the phrase drill, it's a drill, drilling, etc., which also wasn't inherently violent coming out. It was like it could explain violence, yes, but it kind of just explained anything where something was cracking for real. So like if I'm out and two girls hit my homies and it's slide, it's a 2-on-2, that's a drill. Oh, we're finna play basketball today and we're finna kick it, it's a drill. Oh, mom brought Tostino rolls today, it's a drill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, so it was more than just like, oh, only violent. Granted, in the same spot, like if shit going up, like it's a drill too. But it was just more of like movement or whatever. And you have Pac-Man being a face of that. You have Boss Wu being a face of that. You have Big Homie Doe, King Louie. And it was really what was coming out of that neighborhood. And it was dances attached to that. Obviously, the Dro style, the money dance. It was dances attached to the idea of drill coming out and what that emergence looked like. And it wasn't until it got out of the neighborhood that it became a sound per se. Because once it left Dro City, then you had producers like DJ Ken, Young Chop, DJ L. You had all these producers, Smiles, etc., who were then making music that people were referencing the slang, the lifestyle, etc., that came with drill, and you can attach a sound to it.
What was people's reaction to the idea that you were going to be teaching the history of Chicago rap, at your alma mater of all places?
We're not going to pay tuition at DePaul to have folks come and teach you. You can go to this for that. I'm like, bro, I'm not teaching anyone how to rap. I'm teaching people how to critically think about rap and use it as a lens to apply to like the city they live in. But overall, people are really excited. I think people are like, damn, like, okay, this is cool that a rapper is able to do this at this institution. So I kind of exist in a space within Chicago where I'm kind of able to do things without an immense amount of bias. My biggest bias is to the blog era because I'm in it. But overall, I'm able to kind of tell stories, whether it's drill, whether it's, like certain neighborhoods or something like that. My biggest worry was like, I need the students to critically think and leave with something. It's not like this. Now you're not just coming to class and just listen to music and think it's gonna be cool. Like it is, yes, and you feel me. You need to walk away critically thinking about music, and so even coming into it, I was a bit worried about that. Like, damn, let me make sure I got to be over prepared to make sure like I'm covering as much bases. And there's so much lore and stuff about hip hop. I want to make sure I'm making sure I'm including as many people as possible, but also being cognizant of the amount of time I have. But it seems like people have been pretty receptive, and my students have been kind of reassuring me in regards to like just based on their assignments of like, okay, y'all are picking up on certain things, or at least nothing else, just thinking about rap a bit differently, and that is a win.
I mean, they getting to go to Classic Studios and get tours and hear from Saba and GLC and Tanika Lewis Johnson. Like you've curated one hell of a syllabus, if I say so my damn self. Let's put together a little Chicago rap playlist. Like, what are songs that have to be on it? Songs that your students are going to hear about, songs that you think, over the last 40 years kind of capture kind of the spirit of Chicago hip hop.
Got to have Funkified on there.
That was my number 2 song on the list, on the small list that I had written down.
We got to have Funkified on there. We have to have Adrenaline Rush on there.
Adrenaline Rush, that's Twista.
That's Twista, and Psychodrama. It's featuring Psychodrama, and Psychodrama is also somebody people took a lot of style from. And I think that allows like Psychodrama to also have like, his space in what's going on in the city. And I think it kind of shows that
We still in the 90s right now. I Used to Love Her by Common.
needs to be on there 100%. You have to have I Used to Love Her on there. You have to have Here I Go.
Getting Some, Shauna.
Yep. Getting Some by Shauna could be on there. You need Here I Go by Infamous Syndicate on there. Then it's just so many Ye songs you can choose. Kind of you need yeah, it's so many Ye songs. I think Slow Jams just has to be on there just because I remember when that shit hit the radio and what that was doing for this. It was a crazy time, and kind of also led to the not the reemergence of Twista in terms of him falling off or anything, but just like it also led to then like Overnight Celebrity, which should be on there.
We could keep going, right? We haven't even we barely at the top of the 2000s.
RPM is with Twista and Ludacris. Then you gotta have Kick Push on there. You have to have
Lupe Fiasco, Kick Push, BON, King Louis.
For sure. You have to have Val Venus by King Louis.
You got to have Back on Road by Femdot.
Throw some Femdot on there. You know what I'm saying? Throw some Femdot on there for sure.
I was back on road, I came back home where all the real is set.
I don't like Spark and Bang by Chief Keef, Love Sosa, Bang Bros by Lil Durk. You gotta have Hang With Me by P Rico. You gotta have we could just
We can keep going.
I'm literally like I could just start rattling joints off this ain't what you
the
want.
Waters, Mick Jenkins.
Literally, you gotta have Martyrs from the Waters on there. Diddy Bop by No Name on there. You can have Angels by Chance and Saba. So many records, because I'm just thinking of projects cause you can go 10 Day, Pusha Man, with the whole song, with the Paranoia half, the whole song.
Katie Got Bands Pop Out.
Gotta have Katie Got Bands Pop Out. Sasha Go Hard. I Need a Hitter. You gotta have Go In by Shady on there. If we talking about, the Eat the Team, if you're talking about Eat the Team and shit, gotta have that on there. Gotta have you gotta have Kill Shit by Herb and Bibby. You can have Gangway. You gotta have Dreezy's Chirac freestyle. That just gotta be on there. That shit was a cultural reset. Gotta have the D-Lo Shuffle. You gotta have Fifi on the Block and by Stunt Taylor and Fiesta by Sicko Mob. Cutting Up by Love Foe. Yeah, Oh Yeah by El Hitter. You gotta have some LEP Bogus Boy songs on there. Obviously Vic Mensa, Orange Soda. You gotta have yeah, bro, we can really
we can keep going forever. Finn, we covered a lot of ground today. I appreciate you, man. Again, I'm proud of you. Your latest project, give people a quick little plug before you get out of here. King Dilla 2.
King Dilla 2 is my latest project. It is if you were a fan of the trap era but wanted to rap like me, it would sound like this. It is extremely fun. It is an easy listen, and it is available everywhere for you to play very, very loud in your car.
Another great project, man. I appreciate you making time. Femdot. Again, we're going to drop links to his website, his latest project in the show notes. We appreciate you making time for CityCast Chicago.
No, thank you for having me.
Of course, we can't wrap things up without some good news. And with all this talk about music and performance, I want to put you on this Saturday Suge and Jam open mic. It's back at Level Up Coffee in Bronzeville, and sign up is from 6:30 to 7. And the invitation is open to everybody, no matter what genre you perform, whether you do stand up or spoken word. And the featured artist this time around is none other than DeAndre Dunnigan. I'll drop a link for you in the show notes. As always, we appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.